Welcome to Retro Upgrade. This time we will be looking at a few pickups I did at the flea market. I got a PlayStation 1 game, a controller, a toy that my daughter got. It's a Hachimo, same as this video right here, and a few games. This will not make for a great video, two of the things at least. I just need to test them to see if they work. But this one is not working. It has some corroded batteries inside, so I'm guessing it's just battery terminals that need to be cleaned. But these are a pain in the ass to get into, so I'll make a video about that. If you saw my last one, you'll know why. I had to unsew the entire back on the other one. I don't think I need to do this on this one. And this one is the odd one out. So it's a controller from Madcatz. It's for the PlayStation 3. And it's quite rare. Unfortunately, it didn't come with the dongle that goes with this. I really don't care because I'm not going to use it. As you can see, for a PlayStation 3 controller it looks weird, it's missing the analog sticks. It's because it's a fight stick. This controller has a few issues. The top left bumper doesn't work. It's a little stiff and nasty, and they painted for some reason with some Sharpie red here, so I'll try to recondition the controller. And I was thinking of making this a wired controller. There is a wired version of this. I know it's a little sacrilege when it costs this much, but what can you do? I can't get a hold of the actual sender unit by itself. I'll disassemble it, check inside what I can find, and try to modify it to be used via USB instead, because the dongle on the computer side is USB as well as the PlayStation side. So that means this should send USB signals through the air, and then they go to the computer or the PS3 and activate that way. But could be that this sends raw data and the dongle actually converts it to USB. So we'll have to see what happens inside this. Okay, let's start with this today. We'll leave these for testing for another day. I have a few more games I have to test. I actually found a lot of other stuff, like a Nintendo Entertainment System I have to test, another Xbox original console, and actually I got my hands on a Xbox One. I don't have one, so, and I got it pretty cheap at the flea market as well, so there are a few videos coming up. But I don't just want to do flea market stuff, so I have a few build videos also lined up. Okay, let's get going. Looks pretty straightforward to get into. Screws all around, 6 what I can see, maybe a hidden screw or so. There's a lot of corrosion going on inside here, so I'll have to clean it with some acid. Because of alkaline batteries, you should use vinegar, white vinegar normally, to clean off the contacts, because it's basic and it's the opposite to acidic. It's crunchy, it's nasty. There are 2 more screw holes hidden here. Just notice there is an on-off here. Maybe I can test, maybe it lights up when the batteries are working. And it has some programmable buttons, LS, DP, RS. We'll check later what those do. Okay. If you hear any weird sounds in the background, we got a new cat, so you'll probably hear it once or twice in the video. That's not the correct screw. It is a star, but it's not pointy. Okay, so let's go with this. I took number 1 star. or Phillips, or whatever you want to call them. These are quite expensive. I could find a new one that cost over 300 euros, but fine, it's not new. But I found a few loose ones for 70 euros or so, so these are quite popular. There is a second version of this for the PlayStation 4. Those are not as expensive. I don't know why, maybe they're worse, who knows. Sorry for the delay on videos. I had to do a lot of stuff. I personally fixed the garden and stuff, and was nothing really to record. Spider. And I could have recorded it. I welded a fence so my kid doesn't fall off the corner of the garden, because there is a 5-meter drop. The old fence just broke down, turned to dust. It was made by with chicken wire by the old owner. I just rent here, but I decided to spend the money. If you want to see any welding videos or so, just leave a comment and I'll make something. I have a grill, a handmade grill I need to update, so maybe I can do that on video. Let's see. Hate when the screws just stick inside even if they are loose. Because the second I turn this over, it will fall out. No, it's inside here. It's really stuck. There we go. So with things like these, you have to be a little methodical when you pull it apart. I usually make sure I have all the screws in one place, and because I'm recording, I don't need to write down where everything goes. But if you see screws that are different lengths, write it down so you don't screw it up. The corrosion doesn't look too bad here, but it's just plastic, so leave it up to the side. It's under the battery holder, I'm guessing the problem is. Okay, so there is components underneath. Let's see if I can. That's going to be hard. There we go. So you can see components underneath. I can zoom in later. Okay, so this is a sliding button. Should be easy enough to take apart. Let's first. Okay, so there I see corrosion there and there, also over here. So yeah, the corrosion is actually spreading. So we'll have to fix that first. Let's screw this apart even further. The membranes should be on the other side. Same length screw everywhere. Perfect. I like to see that. There seems to be 4 screws holding the PCB in. I'm hoping they use the same PCB for the wireless and wired controller. Just leave out a component for sending the signal, but I'm not that lucky, so probably not. Otherwise, there should be a USB connector somewhere. Not populated, of course, but should be there anyways. Okay, let's see if this comes out. Not yet. And I'm missing a screw. Yeah, the middle of the battery. Okay, battery connector is off, and the screw too. Oof. Okay, so there is a lot of corrosion on the glop top. Hopefully it's not eaten through the traces, otherwise we're a little bit in trouble. We have to grind back the blob to reattach wires. And I don't know if it's really worth it, but we'll give it a shot. Because I'm not going to be able to use this as intended. I can probably use it in Windows or something. Okay, let's see if I can take this out. Okay, it's out. There are membranes underneath. Pretty good quality. There are some pads softening. Huh. Okay, this one clicks. This one clicks as well, but are these broken? Let's see. No, it has the little star that pushes on it. This kind of broken here. It looks like plastic fatigue. It's starting to break. Maybe it deformed. A drop of super glue with some bicarbonate or baking soda should harden that up quite fast, so no worries there. Okay, let's see what's holding this in. Let's hit the slider buttons. Okay, so the battery terminals are connected. I took off the little slider thing for the first one. Do I need to unscrew anything here to take this off? It just looks like it lifts out. Yeah, it does. Okay. Okay, so here is the wireless module. Oh, I dropped something. One of the things you have to be careful with. Some paper inside this. Okay, so that's part of the bottom. Let's take out all the buttons. Oh, the sides get off as well. Perfect. I'm missing a side. It's stuck on this side. Perfect. Okay. So it's quite complexly built. Sorry for the glare. I'm working on a video to make my own light as well. That doesn't give glare or the 60 hertz noise. Still working on it. Still waiting for a few parts from AliExpress. We'll get here eventually. Okay, so this looks like the cross is stuck. So can't really clean it that well, but I'll give it a shot. Okay, PCB. This is the ribbon that holds the batteries, or for pulling out the batteries. I'll have to wash that. There are a few buttons here. These are the turbo, select, home button, and start. And there's an indicator light. Okay, so these should light up if the turbo is on. There is a lot of corrosion on these, so that's one thing I have to look at. I'm guessing these are just normal batteries, AA, yeah. So I can just put wires from my power supply to the connectors here and see if it works. That could be one. This one clicks, so I don't know why the left one didn't really make noise when I clicked it before. It was just stuck down. Maybe it went over a corner or something, because I thought this was broken in. Broken to the inside, but it's a 4-leg push button. The first thing first then, let's clean off the corrosion. I'll put up the microscope so you can get a better view when I'm cleaning, so you can see what's happening. There's some fuzz on some places here. Hopefully we don't need to do a lot to make this work. I don't see any USB pinouts from the chip. There may be, but just looking at it, it's not obvious. This is soldered down, and it's the sender unit. It has a clock that's put on an angle. I don't know why. It's bent. Okay, it's just bent. Few capacitors. It's not very advanced, that's for sure. Okay, let's switch over. Okay, so we're back. Turn off the overhead light here. Put on just the microscope light because it's not working as intended. So I'm working on a new light for this, or actually a special filter that will make it not glare as much. As you can see, there's a lot of glare. You can practically not see the corrosion right there. This is pretty small, so let's get to it with a toothbrush and some IPA and see what's left and if the traces are gone. I actually have a hard bristle brush like this. See it on the top corner. Let's just drench everything. It needs a good scrubbing. I'll scrub everything around it as well, even connectors here. I think these are glued in. Okay, looks fine. We'll have to dry this off just to make sure. Just cleaning off all the connectors as well. They had some oxidation. Okay. Still some oxidation left. This bristle brush is not very, let's say, precise. There's a lot of rough bristles. And I don't want to go overboard scratching up all the entire board, obviously. Okay, so let's see, what do we have? So let's bring down the microscope a little bit so we have a better look. Sorry for the shaky camera. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this. So it looks like the oxidized pads right there need to be reflowed and maybe ground back to just see if it has connection. It has some oxidation right there. Maybe I should be using a tweezer instead of this. One sec. Some pointy tweezers, a lot easier to get these loose. Let's see, the focus went out. There we go. So this is just loose oxidation, that's fine. The only thing that bothers me is this one, but I think I can scratch it off. So it's not deep enough to have damaged. Okay, well that looks pretty good. I don't think there is actually damage on this. I'm turning around the board so you can see it better. The field of view of this microscope is not perfect. Just checking to see if the oxidation is going all the way through and eating through the traces, but doesn't seem that way. So I'm really happy about that. There's a more rough oxidation on top, but looks really good. On the other side, that's the side I already fixed, I guess. No, it's not. So this was crusty. Could be that they were making bridges between the parts or the legs. But I tested to put in fresh batteries, it didn't work. Or at least what I could see, because I don't have the sender receiver module. So what I'm doing here is just making sure there are no bridges in between them. This is the main chip, so if there is a bridge here, it won't work. Okay, let's lift it up again. See if we can make it focus. There we go. So I'll give it a bath in APA again and scratch off all the loose stuff. Sorry for the glare, like I said, not much I can do until I fix the camera. I have an idea to modify these cheap ring lights and make them actually useful. There are alternatives. You use two lights and put one from each side, and then you don't get glare because the light bounces out. But I like the ring lights because they're out of the way and they're a lot cheaper. The side lights cost like 200 euros. That's just stupid. And they have flexible heads just so you can position it. But if I'm right about my fix, I'm going to use polarizing filters to polarize the light so it doesn't bounce back the reflected light. It's just an experiment, no guarantees, but I saw something similar for microscopes for microphotography instead. So okay, so let's see what we have in here. Okay, so the battery connectors are filthy, really filthy and oxidized. So we need to take these out and wash them with some vinegar to remove this before it oxidizes through. These are removable, the metal brackets. You just lift them out, but you need to desolder wires on the back first. These ones. There are two wires, the plus and minus. We need to keep remember which wire goes where, but not that hard. Let's just put it like this and remember red to left, black to right, and have the spring on this side. Okay, let's desolder this. Really easy, just put your favorite soldering tip on. In my case it's the curved one. You don't even need to use flux for things like this, just let it heat up. It should be fine. So now it's to the right, if I have it upside down, so let's say right is red and left is black, just to remember. The actual wires are fighting me a bit, so that's why I need to reposition it. Okay, the soldering station is warm according to my station, so let's see if this heats up. It was a little harder, I don't know what I'm thinking. I have it at 350 degrees. Let's put on some solder. Sometimes that helps. Put on solder to remove. Just like the wick. a little blob on the end there. There we go. That one's loose. And that one's loose. So the battery holder is loose. I'm going to go to the sink and scrub this off. Be back in a second.
One eternity later.
Okay, I'm back. I just rinsed it off in the sink using normal stuff. Just dry it off very well and let it dry off. So you can see here there's no more corrosion on the contacts. So there are two ways to do this. If you can take it off from the actual controller, you can just wash it in the sink. A lot of water will neutralize the basic elements, but if you can't take it off, you take some white vinegar, put it on a cotton swab and just dab it all around, and then just take off everything else. This is pretty easy to just get cleaned up, so it works. If you use a lot of water when you wash this, it has the same effect as neutralizing the acid or the basic element. Oh, good. Okay. Let's use the mini power supply. I'm going to make an enclosure for this in next video or so. I'll be making an enclosure for this in the next videos coming up. I want it to be tiltable so I can see it from different angles because the screen is not very good, and I want it to have a connector for a laptop power supply instead of the screw terminals on the backside. It's really handy. It's 80 watts I think maximum and 36 volts maximum, and you can set constant current or constant voltage, so it's really useful, and it has a few extra modes and memory and stuff, so it's really handy. It's practically really cheap as well. If you don't want to buy a full-on bench power supply, this is the best bet. There are a few beefier versions. It has in and out here, so on here. So what I want to do is change the in and outs from this to banana plugs. The out, that is. So, there we go. You can see way in, way out. So then you have these are the in. These are the from the power supply, from the laptop power supply, and this is the out. The laptop power supply I'm going to be using is 60 watts, so I'm not going to be able to use the entire range of this thing, but that's fine. 60 watts is plenty for my kind of work. Okay, so let's hook this up. It's a flathead screw to screw into the terminals. So let's change off the head. I would love some alligator clips instead. I think I have some actually, but I can't use them because they require banana plugs. So making the enclosure for this will make this a lot easier. V out plus. Sorry, I'm off camera, but this is hard to do under the microscope. This is a buck boost converter, so it can convert from 5 volts up to 36. So I only need what I can gather from the battery connector. It's in series, so I need about 3 volts out from this. And like I said, it's pretty convoluted to do it this way because I can just set 3 volts on the power supply there, but I'm not sure it's giving 3 volts. I have a multimeter, but I have had mixed results when I was testing LED lights in the TV with that one. Sometimes it worked as intended and sometimes it didn't. Turn on the light and move the microscope just for this. Turn off the microscope light. Okay. If I put power from the bench power supply to this, it should light up. I have the power connected to these leads which goes into this. Okay. So I have 15 volts going in. Nothing on the screen. Turn it on. Still nothing. Oh, the clip was loose. Okay, it's starting. So the really important part about this PSU, it doesn't activate until you push the on-off button. So you can set your voltage first and then you can push the on-off button to activate it. So what I'm going to do here is go to voltage. You have the voltage right here. Push the button. Push the button again so it goes to the next digit. I'm actually not using 20 volts, so let's go down to 3 volts and go back to the second digit. So the reason I'm using 3 volts I went around again is because batteries are 1.5 volt each. If they are in series, they're connected plus to minus, they usually make up 3 volts or less because the voltage goes down when they are used. So let's see. Magic smoke. No. Current draw 0, but that could be anything here. Could be also be that it's off. Let's turn it on. Nothing. That's there we go. It's drawing 0.05 amps, so 50 milliamps. I see a blinking light on the other side. Let's turn it around. So it seems the controller is trying to sync up with the sending unit. That's really nice. And it's this guy right here. So the controller seems to be working. So if I solder on the wires again, the batteries should work. So I'm just going to clean off everything, see that the buttons feel like they should, and put it together. I can't see this working as a USB connector or controller because I can't find the pinouts. Probably one of the pins that go to the wireless sending units is USB, but not having the receiver unit, it's really hard for me to check which one is which because it's not labeled. On this side there's no labels as well, and because it's a glob top I can't see the pinout on the internet because I don't know what they put in here. So the idea of making this USB controller is not really viable, I'm guessing, but this will make a good video for someone that's thinking of doing the same thing, so they don't. Pretty much. I'm just removing a little bit more corrosion here. I forgot this side on the top here. I have an idea of what we can do to make this work. You buy one of the arcade button thingies to make arcade buttons to USB. I have one of those in my arcade. I'll show it in another video. It's one of these. You should see it's here somewhere. and it has a lot of buttons and for 2 players. I can get one for 1 player only, and we can do that for this. And it has inputs for, I think, 16 buttons plus the directional buttons. So, and because this is 4 directional buttons, not the analog buttons, they're digital only, so it's on off when you push them. And there are, let's say, 1, 2 on the top, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 buttons plus the directional buttons. So that should actually work. So hopefully we can do that instead. We can remove, we can put it inside. The PCBs are actually very small, and they end up in USB micro or mini. So it has a connector, so you can connect it to a computer. You can also make one that ends up in USB-C. You can put the adapter connector in between, and I think I'm going to do that if I'm going to do this at all. And let's see if it blinks again if I turn it on. Yes. So now it's not flashing. It has a solid color. Okay, so let's clean off these contacts, and I'm also going to clean off the actual membranes. I'm going to turn off the power so I don't short anything. So this doesn't come off. So it looks like oxidation, pretty rough oxidation. Just making sure there's no bridges in between. That would make it, the button actually be held in or clicked. This is the directional pad. Would be very bad if it walks to one side all the time. There is a break on one of the traces here. No, it's not. Or maybe. No, it's just crap on top. Perfect. I think so, at least. I'll have to check that under the microscope. Because if it's a break, we can actually fix it quite easily. Or maybe there should be a break. There should be a break. All of them have it, so it's fine. Checking the other ones on this side, those are fine. There are no bridges anywhere. This looks really good. So the controller probably works. Just making it work on a device I want to. So I don't know if there's some interest to see me convert this into a USB controller. Leave a comment if you want to see that. I'll do it for myself because I like the aesthetics of this controller. It's really nice. It's well made. Also, a Sharpie. How do you remove this without damaging the actual artwork? Normally IPA works, but in some cases it doesn't work. Then you use hand sanitizer. So let's try to do that right now. I'm going to move the PCB away. I don't know if this sender sends in Bluetooth or what it does. If it sends in Bluetooth, maybe I can detect it on the PC. I'll try that later on here. I have a Bluetooth module connected to the PC at the moment, so that should work fine. Okay, so let's try to do this. So one of the Sharpies dissolved instantly. I have some paper here. I don't want to smudge the artwork underneath. So it's kind of yellowed where it was. Let's put on some more. Okay, and the top one also dissolves. So IPA worked this time. I don't know why they did this. It doesn't look nice. Considering A fresh controller of this, decent state, costs 60-70 euros. Yeah, this is a waste. And it actually hurts my soul that I need to modify it to even be able to use it. But the alternative is that it doesn't get used and it goes into the trash, or maybe it's just as a decorative piece, which also sucks because I like using my stuff. So I can't get this red stuff off from the side. Okay, there we go. It's indent right there. Okay, so it is a little discolored right here from the first Sharpie. I don't see it showing up on the video. It's like a orange hue right there. The entire controller looks a little bit, let's say, burnt, but I think that's the way it looks normally. So it's a kind of eggshell yellow instead of a pure white. I'm just giving it a good clean, because if you have cleaned controllers before, you know they are filthy. Okay, let's give it a good wipe down. There we go. Looks good. Let's clean these off. Let's do a general cleaning of everything. Okay, that one's done. These rubber grips are the bane of my existence. I don't like them at all. They get tacky after a while, so it feels like they stick to your fingers. Like you can see here, the paper just sticks. And they're quite comfortable to hold, but I would prefer just solid rubber or plastic, not this rubberized crap that goes. If you have had something that's old with this kind of finish, you know it just peels off after a while. And when it peels off, it's just nasty. Okay, I'm just rubbing it with my fingers and then drying it. That's the best I can do, pretty much. Not too bad, could be worse. So let's see if I can, if I see something else get off. Oh, it looks okay. Next we go for the pads. So these usually require a cotton swab, some light pressure. If you see it like a metallic shine on them, you need to scratch them up, because that means they have been used too much and they won't actually make a good contact. Nothing much that comes off. These are carbon pads, so some black who should come off. You can see the small ridges on these ones, so these are fine for the moment. Should work nicely. These ones are more smooth. That means they are actually being used more, so these are the directional buttons. Yep, definitely a lot more carbon dust. So this can make it so the controller actually gets carbon dust on it and leaves the contacts closed, so it thinks it's pressed down, pretty much. So in this case, if I see this doesn't work, I'll open the controller again and scratch these up with some 500 grit sandpaper. Just a light rubbing, and that should be fine. Okay, time to clean off this control. Usually when I clean controllers, I do the following. I take all the pieces and put them in the wash, in the sink. I won't be recording that because it's just boring me putting them in the sink and putting some washing up fluid and cleaning them. These are all the control pieces right here. Let's see. So, oh, they are key. So I have to put them right there. That is cool. There we go. Circle. Just here we go. X. R1. Triangle. R2. Go here. And last one is square. And we need to put. Okay, it's broke. It's broke. No, I want to rock with it. Let's see if we need it. One small one black one. That goes inside this. I'm guessing it goes this way. And I'm guessing this goes on top. Okay, I have to do this. Like this. And let's see that better. So, this is left. This one goes here. Like this. Just side down. This one is left to the 1 and 2. This goes right here. That's slides in. We need to go back to the 1 as well. And this is before the power supply. Easier to do. Never mind. Let's put these on the actual PCB. That'll be open and organized. It's not easy to handle with the there we go. This one is on the line. So, easy to over here. So I guess this goes like this. Here. Or like this way. Yeah, like this. Like this. Put this on. Wait, no, okay. This is part of it. And this goes behind the middle. Let's see how this goes. I can't turn it around. The whole one is still to the side. So this needs to go like this. Or upside down. Like this. This is the plastic straight, so it doesn't go up. It's just one. In working scenario, I can just you want a nice shine through one as a clean up. So make it doesn't work. There we go. That should be right there. Close it. It doesn't go down. So I want to do. There we go. Put the robot something back. This is really no. Not fun at all. Don't mind. I can't remember which one where. There are 2 black ones and 1 one. So give me a check. Draw all wood. Okay. Okay. Then we'll start. One goes. One goes. This one's. What's on this? One works. Okay. Here's those on the right. It does have a number here, so we'll put it up. Maybe that's on here. That's alright. That's fine. Let's go to the right one. That's 2. So here. 1 X. It's a little bit thick. That works. That's good. Okay, let's see. All that seems to work. Yeah, this is the one that's bothering me a little bit. But it's not right. This will get it, so over there. Okay, let's put these on. These is the slider. We'll put that one. Let's put the slider on for this one. I'm not going to split this off. Maybe. It doesn't break anything. It's working. We'll be hanging out for now. There we go. Go. Start on the camera. Same more times. I'm going to clean up this. This is not very important. I'm also going to stay here. This comes up fast with battery. This is nice, the head off. I think I'll do much. But of course, if it's over the battery panels, we'll start letting it. Everything off. Okay. Just stop there. Let's give this a treatment. We'll probably lose it here. That's what I think. I think that's what I use. And that's one of these that 17 box left. You know, just, I'm going to go ahead and put these all right. Just one parts. I might frame. We touch these areas, we must operate it. I don't know what it is. Usually just run a brush and remove this. Don't do it anymore. Then we'll back around here. Probably the way to do it with the right things. I don't know. Okay, let's go inside. Let's surround the tree. Right up. Now I can't remember which way. Okay, that's the same. So this is positive and this is negative. Yeah, so positive, negative. Let's come on the instrumentation with some wire. Just like wire. So positive goes there, negative goes there. So let's switch the wires. And when I turn it around to screw it on, it will be correctly orientated. I won't have the crossed wires here. Okay, seems like this is warm. Let's put on some fresh solder. Yep, definitely warm. Using some tweezers to make my life easier. There we go. For these kind of things, flux is not really required. You can use it, but it's not required. Okay, so let's spin this around and screw this on where it goes. There is a screw hole right there. Seems to be perfectly aligned. Now put the sides. I won't be reattaching this, it's just unnecessary. I can take out the batteries with a screwdriver if I need to. So let's put these on. Nope, wrong side. This one. Is this correct? Yes, it is. Okay, and let's put the backing plate on and hope the stick actually feels better. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. So the backing plate actually helps it center itself. Cool. Now let's screw it back together and try batteries on it. Usually when I'm screwing old plastics, I do a cross pattern just in case. What's holding this down? Okay, the rubber went in under. There we go. So this is not to put too much strain on the plastic. Usually you do the same with head bolts on cars and stuff. Not super necessary, I guess. I do it just because I work on cars, so I have the I'm used to it. So I thought I was missing some screws. Here they all are. I know this is a long-winded video for just a controller disassembly clean. I'll do some research and see if I can find any information on how to convert this to a USB. Otherwise, I'm going with my first idea and using an arcade USB stick board. They're quite cheap on AliExpress. I think they're €2 or so not bad at all. Well worth the time if the controller is nice. And having a controller with a USB-C port, I can actually put a charge controller inside as well, so I can charge the batteries that are in. Okay, that looks good. Let's get some batteries and see if the button lights up. All buttons still feel right. This one actually works now, but yeah, it feels good. Okay, batteries for my stash. Two alkaline batteries. Correct way around. Blinking light is working now. Okay. I'll put the lid on just in case. Let's switch over to the computer and see if we can see it in action. I'll turn it off for now. Okay, I have removed the adapter from the computer for some reason. Can't remember why. Now it should be there. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to Bluetooth settings. Bluetooth. It detects the Bluetooth. Let's try to add. I'll turn on the controller again. So it's in detect mode. A light is flashing on the controller. And doesn't seem to actually detect it. Usually goes a lot faster than this. That is too bad. Nothing I can do about that. Okay, so two options I have. Converting it to USB, using a arcade board USB HID device. Still, this USB controller is a nice piece to have in your collection. It looks really nice as a display piece because of the art on it. So I'm not too unhappy with the purchase. It cost me about, I think it cost me €5. Okay, I thought I was done with this, but I remembered I borrowed this from Richard. It's a Finris oscilloscope, 110 megahertz. Works pretty decent. I don't have an oscilloscope myself, so I was thinking of just checking to see if the signals go raw to the sensor and it converts here and sends a serial over there, or what it does. So let's check that. Have the batteries plugged in. This is working now, so you can see it's blinking. That means it's in pairing mode. So I just did a quick look at the PCB, and the buttons go directly into the chip and come out to the connector for the wireless. So it could be that it does some encoding here and comes out as serial data maybe, or because it comes in as parallel data on the other side. That means all the button presses are read at the same time. It doesn't poll them. It's like a shift register. Okay, let's try this out. So the main idea here is, if I push a button and it doesn't encode the signal and just sends it raw, it should change the view here. So let's check. There is a lot of pins here, so it could be that it sends it in serial. Unfortunately, I don't think so, because there's too little pins to actually make this work. Because there are 11 pins, I think, and there are 12 buttons or 13, something like that. Okay, so you turn this on. I'm no expert at oscilloscopes. I haven't used one in a while. It's on. You have to hook the ground clamp to something ground. Check so you have the multiplier on, the correct one. So you have the same one set on the machine. X1, X1. So that works fine. And let's start checking pins here. So, oh yeah, maybe turn it on first. It's blinking, so it should do something. Nothing there. There we have a signal. Can you see that on the screen? Yeah, you can. And it looks like a byte sent. Is this changing with button presses? No. So, and I'm pressing everything here, all the buttons, just in case if there is a pairing button. Oh, it changes. Could be that I touched the wire. Okay, so let's turn it off and on again, just to have more time. Let's go through the other ones. Nothing there. There's something, it's pulled high. That's also pulled high. Let's see, voltage. There we go. This one moves up and down very slowly. You can do auto setup. So it detects what duty cycle it is and what amplitude. In this case it's struggling quite a lot. 100 milliseconds. Or yeah, milliseconds. So let's go through these. This one. Should be one that's continuous sending information to pair the machine. Here. This looks about right. It turned off. Let's turn it off and back on again. So let's do the nanoseconds, so the time between peaks. Okay, so here's a signal. Voltage, you can move this around. Voltage seems to be about 3.24, it says there, and that duty cycle about 40, so and 300 kilohertz. Yeah, that's a standard wavelength. Okay, so if I press signal here, it would take a snapshot and let me go through it. So it should. It didn't. Auto and then snapshot. There we go. So I got the signal here. I got fat peak, medium, fat, small. So these correspond to different bytes. Let's see. If it repeats, then we have a complete signal. We can maybe replicate that on the other side. Maybe do our own dongle. Fat peak, fat peak, long. So this is the data stream. It's probably ID sent over there, and maybe a Bluetooth protocol or something similar. So you can't decode this on these types of oscilloscopes. Fancy ones can. Okay, and the limit is set there. So I think it's a repeating pattern. So yeah, pretty much impossible to decipher if you don't know what the protocol is. You can try to capture and process it, but in my eyes not really worth the time and effort to do that when you can do a USB mod on this. I was checking to see if I could use the pins here to do that, but that's going to be hard. You just pretty much exclude the connection or the wireless function of it. Only thing I have in, I don't know if it's going to work, is if, oh, it should work still. It turns off the light. So if you're playing, for example, and we want to use only the buttons to power a USB controller board instead, we need to have some way of let's say keeping it alive. So maybe a pin has to go high here, or a signal, or whatever, but we can figure that out when we get the other one. So my idea is to put, okay, I'm just going to push a button here, so all the buttons go to the glop in the middle. If I knew what this was, it was a lot easier to just see if it has a maybe a USB out and just piggyback from there, but it doesn't. So so let's see if I can find a button here. This is a lot easier with a normal what's it called, multimeter, to check for continuity. of course, let's use the oscilloscope so I can show you how that works, but I wouldn't do it with the oscilloscope if I didn't need to. Do you see that okay? Yeah, that's fine. So I have the oscilloscope on the side. I'll turn it on. There's a small switch on the back. Okay, so I'm going to push the one of the L buttons up on the top and see if I can find the correct via. Okay, let go. You see the vias that go all around here? You can see them on the other side as well, and they go directly to the chip. Let's try one of these. Okay, getting annoyed. So let's put this here and push a button. Yes. Okay, so let's do the auto thing. Okay. This should be down here. Shouldn't be voltage unless I'm touching the wrong wires. Let's turn this off. Okay, so it's active low. So when you press the button, it goes low. Am I doing something wrong here? The ground is connected. Let's put the 10x on and switch here. Let's try this again. There, one of these goes here. Auto. There's a waveform. This one? It should change when you push the button. Okay, this one. So do I have to put it to AC maybe? No. Okay, so you see the button press gives waveform for some reason, and I should have another button right here. Let's see, this one. So it's just a matter of mapping these vias where they go to the new board, the very small board I'm going to put. I'm going to probably remove this because the power doesn't need to be on for this to work as USB. So we can actually remove the battery compartment and everything else. Just wanted to let you know I checked it out, and it's going to be harder than it looks to actually make your own dongle. I'm not really sure these are keyed, so if they come with a predetermined ID that has to be set on the USB side as well, so they match, that's going to create problems, obviously, because I don't know what the ID is. There, it does have a number on the back side here. Maybe if you desolder this, you can see the ID number or something else important. I can't see any chips on this, so the only chip is inside the glop top here as well. And that sucks because I don't know what chip they used to send the information, if it's a Bluetooth chip or not. And if I grind it back, you can't see what it is. If you're good enough, you can actually decap this and check what it is, but no. That's a waste of time for me. Would be nice to have another controller of this kind, just to check if this dongle works across each other. Then you can just get a secondary dongle from eBay. They're usually quite expensive as well, so that's one thing to think about. But the controller essentially works. It's just that the brains we need to exclude that. So we have to check where all the connectors or connections for the buttons go, and just tap directly from them to the little USB thingy. And I found one that uses doesn't have a USB port on it directly, so you can just buy a USB-C port with 4 wires, so data and then ground and power, so you have all of those. Most of the USB controllers I found on AliExpress are USB 2, so that should work well enough with a controller. Okay, I give up on this one for now. I'll have to buy myself one of these USB controller thingies, solder wires, and try to fit everything in the case. In my case, I'll probably remove the batteries and do the USB-C port from the battery compartment. So let's see. Let's show you. So I drill a hole right here instead. So the actual main board for the controller goes inside here. So it's protected. And there is a screw hole in the middle where the battery compartment is screwed down. I can use that to mount it. So that should work out quite nicely, and I can use this controller to play some Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and other similar games. I do have a PlayStation 3. I actually have 3 of them, 2 fat ones and 1 slim. I don't have the medium one, but the 2 fat ones need some work first before they work, because they were cockroach infested. So I have to do a lot of work on them. Upcoming video, of course. Okay, I give up on this one for now. Thank you for watching until the end. I have already finished my next video. It's the Hatchimal one. Stay tuned to see if I manage to fix it and make my little girl happy. See you on the next one. Bye.